Hi everybody and welcome to Mastermix in Conversation With. My special guest today is a DJ who progressed musically through the world of soul, funk and boogie in the early 80s, moving into megamixing, production, remixing and eventually becoming a solo artist in his own right. He's topped the Traxsource annual charts as a best-selling producer and created a successful solo album in the past 2 years, spawning many great remixes. He's still extremely active on the global DJ circuit, broadcasts live streams on Twitch, and produces his Sultra radio show monthly for the My Soul Network. Please welcome my special guest, Michael Gray.
Hello, Paul. How you doing?
I'm very well. How are you doing today, Mike?
I'm very good. Listening to you reel out all that, I thought, oh, I've done a few bits there over the years.
You're thinking, who's this person? Oh, it's me.
Yes, me. Oh, yes.
Well, great. Thanks for joining us today in your newly revamped live stream studio there.
Yeah, it needed a bit of a tart up because the last time was COVID, and just I need some backdrop to do my Twitch shows, which obviously you helped me with.
Yes, a few people got together and helped you, and we'll discuss that later for sure. So, Michael, you've done many interviews with quite a few people recently, but so we don't want to labour too much on some of the questions you maybe covered before. But let's put a foundation on Michael Gray and go back to the early DJ days. When did you transform into a DJ from what you were as a young man and get that DJ bug? What was the story there, Mike?
The DJ bug started when I was about 11, and then I started doing these discos at our church hall once a month, which my parents organised, my dad particularly. And ever since that, every single month without fail, DJing to 120 under 16s was just one of the biggest buzzes ever. We're talking late 70s, early 80s, where the music was just off the hook. So it was a great time. And then, you know, I was at secondary school. I did all the school discos wherever I could. And I knew exactly what I wanted to do, is just DJ. The production thing hadn't come in then, but the mixing had, the starting to mix and learn to mix and stuff like that.
Got you, yeah. I mean, the DJ to megamixer, remixer, producer to artist, you know, for decades, that was a long, hard slog for you, for all of us, actually, that career path. Very strategic one, but we went through it, and it was a long thing. Today, in today's younger generation, they seem to have this kind of fast-track mentality, but you know, really looking back then, did you have that vision and strategy in place for what you wanted to be in the future?
I did, yeah. I did. Starting off, all I wanted to do is DJ in a nightclub. That was the biggest thing for me, and I used to buy Record Mirror religiously, probably just like yourself, Disco International magazine, and I would look at I paged through, and I'd look at all the clubs and all the lighting and the console, and I've got to be there. And it's something that completely takes over everything. Even when your mates come round, say, should we go out and do such? You're only about 15. You're like, yeah, I'm just going to practice my mixing. I'm just going to do this mixtape. I'm just going to, you know, and it becomes such a bug that you cannot let it down. I didn't know, obviously, I wanted to end up producing records and writing records until I got to mastering the megamix side of things, which when I was probably about 19, 20, 21, when I joined DMC. And then I suddenly realized, hang on a second, I think I could make my own track here and there, albeit a bit rough around the edges, but you've got to start somewhere. And yeah, it's something that I enjoy today just as much as I did then. Nothing's changed. I still have that bug to work in the studio.
Isn't that a bizarre feeling that need, want, desire to create and be in the studio is still as strong as it was when we were in our, you know, early mid 20s, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and we've seen some changes. I mean, obviously beforehand, we'd be sitting in studios way bigger than what we're in. Well, we both did. I think you must have been about 22, maybe. I was 19, something like that. And I'd sit in and watch you work the 24 track, and I learned off you how to record, you know, big 2-inch reels of tape going around and stacks of keyboards and outboard. And we had to learn the lot. And it's, and people probably don't realize this, that we're a different generation working for DMC. We were kind of doing everything ourselves and having to learn everything. We weren't one of those a more old school producer who would go in with an engineer, and he'd go in with this and go in with that. He'd have a whole team around him. We didn't have that. We didn't realize that, oh, that's actually quite normal to have a team. We were expected to do everything. Maybe we'll get a keyboard player in to do stuff that we couldn't do. But generally, we had to sit there and learn the lot, how to engineer everything. But I think that's paid off, because now I can sit in the studio and I don't have to pay someone to come and do something for me or anything like that.
Yeah, indeed. Of course, there was no YouTube. There was no how to be a producer, how to be a remixer manual. We very much had to, learn, stumble, fail, rebuild, move on, everything. So, we had to, and also we also fed off each other and, gave each other tips. We hung out together, but it was a time of exciting, not only musically with all the different genres that were around in the sort of early mid 80s into the late 80s, but the music technology was so exciting, wasn't it? As you said, 2-inch tape, hardware, keyboards, mixing desks. It was all such a buzz, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that's it. Funny enough, you've just said that. I was in the loft the other day looking for something else, an old contract. Sometimes you have to go back over these old contracts and think, where was that? Am I still tied into this record deal? And then I found this. One sec. This isn't pre-planned, by the way, but this is my very first piece of equipment that I bought. It's a Boss DE200 digital delay.
Right.
It's on the screen. That's it.
Yeah.
And that cost me, I think it was £220. And all it does is delay. And you think what you get for a soft, an FX plugin or something.
Did that have any sampling capability? Like you could trap a moment as well?
Yeah, and I did my sample on this, and it would sample 1 second. 1 second. That's it.
Well, that was quite a lot, actually. I mean, I had a Korg digital delay, and if you got the 1 second, you had to sacrifice that time for bandwidth, or it was something like 5K instead of 10K for a half a second.
That's right. If I press, I think it was, this button here, it would then give you about 2 seconds, but the quality went down.
Exactly.
But that is how, and I had a trigger switch plugged into the back, and this little trigger, and it was Les Adams who showed me how to do this, I think. Yeah, no, it was Les. And then when we were doing those mega mixes, if I wanted to, trigger a sentence, I would have to sample every word in separately and play it over the part of the record I wanted, stop, record it again, record the next word, for example, in that sentence, fire it again over where I think it would come after, and then do this, and then edit the tape like 6 or 7 times to make up a sentence. That's crazy if you think what you can do now.
Absolutely. I mean, I had a similar thing with, I say mine was a Korg digital delay, but the trigger was also a drum machine, so that pulse would trigger a sequence. But I think this is something, I mean, you've done periodic sessions where you've instructed younger producers, but the knowledge that we have, the old school methodology, serves us extremely well in this modern day, doesn't it, as well?
It's worked out really well. I remember it being daunting when I first, very daunting sitting there for the first time with a Pro 24 Steinberg sort of setup. This is just the one before Cubase for me. I know I think you're on Notator, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, Notator. Yeah, correct.
Yeah. And I'd never even looked at a computer to do even anything at school. They'd only just brought them in. I was like, I'm not interested. That's for geeks. And then, it's like, no,
you and I.
Not getting into that. Little did I know. And then suddenly you have to learn it. And you think, if I don't learn this, even though it's really doing my head in, I'm going to get left behind. So there has been times when and it's good where we've all had each other, where we could, I would ring you up and ask you a question or whatever. And how do I do this, Paul? How do I do that? And I do the same to Les and a few other people. And then people do that to me. So if anybody asks me questions in making records, I'm always happy to tell them. If they say, what was that sound that you used for that? I'll tell them. I'm not one of these
gatekeepers. Yeah, you're not a gatekeeper.
Not having that precious sound of mine, because by then if you're you should be ready to move on to the next sound, if you sort of mean,
Yeah.
create the next sound, not worry about.
Yeah, I do get that. But there was one thing where I think we were all pretty sort of, we'd wrap our arms around was our floppy disks. They were our little babies. It's like nobody, lock and key. Not that really worked on a Perspex lid, but I think our floppy disks were like, ooh, don't you go near my box,
Exactly. Yes, you're right. Yeah, loads and loads of discs. And the crazy thing is, looking back at those, when we had the Akai S3000s and 1000s and 1100s, I remember to back up at the end of the session, John Pern, my Full Intention partner, it would take about 20 discs at the end of the thing, at the end of our session, the end of the day, to save every single one. That was 20 minutes in itself.
I know. And then we had the other issue of recalling a desk if we needed to. Anyway, we could talk for hours on that.
Yeah.
Let's just have a sidestep question, but still on this subject. The genesis and the evolution of the Michael Gray Studio. I think you started in your parents' bedroom, didn't you? Was that right?
Well, my sister got married.
Your parents' house. I beg your pardon. Yeah, in a bedroom.
Yeah, parents' house. That's right. Yeah. My sister moved out. She got married, and immediately I took over her bedroom, turned it into a studio. Yeah, we've all been there. So I kind of had my bedroom next door, and I'd walk around the landing, and then I was into my studio. And I remember I copied what I saw at the DMC studios, where we carpeted the whole lot, the ceiling, the walls, everything, and put rock wool underneath, the floorboards and everything, just to try and get some sort of level of soundproofing. I remember that. I remember doing that. Early days.
Yeah, I remember, watching your studio growth and equipment that you use. And I remember one particular point in your career when I was in a music tech store. Remember, we could go into, like record stores, we'd go in there and look at all the toys and everything. And I remember sometime I think it was the mid to late 90s, you purchased a beautiful desk that was like a sub-mixer with analog circuitry inside and valve circuitry. Do you remember what that was? Because I was like, oh, Michael's got this one, and it was like, oh, slightly envious. But can you remember what it was, Mike? Do you remember that? It was a valve desk. What was it?
They were brilliant. It was a TLA M3 tube tracker desk. It was 8 channels.
Yeah.
I bought 2 of them, so I had 16 in all, and every single channel was valve. So it had a valve input, and then the output also had valve as well. So you got a very warm sound. So a lot of my productions around 2001 to about 2008, 2009, which including the weekend, all went through those desks.
Yeah, and what a sound. What a sound amazing. It was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And a bit later on, you, because I came to your house in Surrey, correct?
Yeah.
When you had that really gloriously beautiful studio that you had with the big mixing desk and everything. What was that desk, Mike? I'm sorry to talk geeky, but I'm trying to remember what.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what exact year you came, because originally John had his soundtracks. I think it was a Megas. Is it a Megas? Soundtracks Megas desk, which was great, and we did a lot of stuff on that. Duke So In Love With You and all that was mixed on that. And then when John started setting up his own studio, and we started doing a lot of solo stuff, I brought in a Jade. I bought a Jade, which was
I think that was the one.
Jade.
Yeah.
Is it a Soundtrack Jade? Yeah, huge thing. It was so big that we had to take the whole window out to get it, literally the window, not open the window, but the whole lot.
That's it. Yeah. I remember. So this would have been early 2000s, definitely. Yeah.
The joke of that, Paul, was it had 96 channels, but after I started using it, and obviously we could see digital coming in more and more, and we were more in the box, as it were, with the computers. I'm starting to only use less and less and less channels. So in the end, I've only got some effects going through it, and I'm thinking, I don't actually need this desk. The quality's brilliant, but I'm now able to recall everything actually on the computer. You know,
Mm.
it's all automated. I
Yeah.
don't need to do all this,
Yeah.
even though unfortunately it did look amazing.
Yeah.
So this is the catch-22. Our studios don't look as cool anymore,
Get as many
but
photographs in front of it as you can before you sell it. Yeah, but I
exactly,
remember
yeah.
those that time. I think I did my first in the box remix in '99, and it was an epiphany, wasn't it? You know, like hang on a second, because computer speeds, processor speeds, hard disk space was becoming more affordable. Everything was changing technologically. So bringing us up to today, your studio setup, you're a Cubase, still Cubase guy,
Yeah,
Michael.
Cubase Pro. I'm on Cubase Pro 14, which I absolutely love. Everybody's got their favorite DAW or what have you. You know,
Yeah.
that's absolutely fine. This is mine. It works really well for me. I still have a few bits of analog gear. I've got my Yuri 1178 compressor, stereo compressor. Just looking here, vintage keys. I've still got that, which I keep saying I'm going to switch on one of these days because there's a sound on there. I won't say what it is, even though I said I normally tell everybody what I use. There's a sound on there that I want to try out on a track, a piano sound, which I haven't
Okay.
heard since. Anyway,
Okay.
so yeah, and I've got Prophet 5, which is my baby. I absolutely love the Prophet 5.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask about the Profit 5 because that's not an inconsiderable investment there that you have. You know, what made you choose the Profit 5, the physical unit, as opposed to a plethora of other synthesizers you could have chosen?
I was using the soft synth version of it, and it was good, and it still is good. However, I saw that they brought out the Prophet 5, and it is based on it is actually sequential circuit, so it's based on the original, except obviously it's got a USB port, so I can now log it into the channel it into the computer.
Yeah.
I've always loved the sounds, the D-Train sounds that came from that, all the prelude sounds, a lot of it, and because that is my favorite kind of sound and era. I know prelude sounds were made up of Moog sounds and all sorts, but the Prophet 5 is very, very apparent in that era.
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. It's a very warm synth, and you know it when you hear it. You know it's a Prophet.
Yeah. Yeah. And it can really cut through a mix as well. I remember them very well. Let's not to labour too much on that record, but just a very brief overview of the production life story of The Weekend, obviously your biggest hit record. From early demo scratching some tracks out on your computer to the finished product. Just give us a quick timeline map of production of The Weekend from beginning to end.
Okay, so the idea I put down with Shenna, I got her to sing I Can't Wait for the Weekend, where Oliver Cheatham had sung this ad-lib at the end of Get Down Saturday Night. So I got her to redo that. We did it slightly differently. I also got Xavier in as well to record vocals for that to really pull the whole lot together. And then I put some chords down, and that was it. And at the time, I couldn't think where to put it. I thought this is a good idea, but I'm not sure how to execute this properly. So it basically sat on the shelf for about a year because I got on and started producing this group Portobello. I wanted to do this difference. I just want to have a break from house music and do this post-punk sound with this group, and sort of funky, but not house, and the band as well. And a year later, I signed that project to Island Records. Luciana was the singer, brilliant singer. Obviously, she went on to be on the Body Rocks records and stuff like that. And that was a really, really good project, fun project to work on as well. And I really enjoyed that. But then afterwards, I thought I want to get back into do some house tunes now. And then Weekend was the second track that I went back to start putting together. And I don't know what it is. Sometimes, you have those moments in the studio when everything just comes together within a day. You've got the ingredients. You just then need to make the mix. But I had two mixes of that. And they were very different. One was a piano version, which I've got somewhere, which actually is probably hookier. However, it wasn't edgier. And at the time, I felt that the the one that we went for, I decided to go with, was the edgy one, and then it had something that was a little bit different, a little bit French sounding, which I was very into at the time, still am. And the other one just seemed a bit too safe. So yeah,
it's amazing the longevity of that particular track. I mean, I played a Reach Up Disco Wonderland gig with Nick Hawkes recently, and I think I sent you the video of literally one of the highlights of the night. And once the weekend drops, it's incredible. But on a production level, for me, it was very interesting that during the arrangement of the record, you didn't use a whoosh, a swoosh, a crash, or anything. You let what was happening during the timeline speak. It's one of the rare records that doesn't have all those ubiquitous cliches.
Yeah. I wanted to make a record that was simple, didn't have that many parts, but every part really kind of stood out. And I always based that on when I had the multi-track for Chic's Good Times, back again when we were all learning to remix and stuff like that. And I remember John and I had that, and I remember listening to the parts and thinking, there's not much in this. It's probably 14 tracks, and some of those a lot of those are stereo. I'm thinking, but what a brilliant record. If you can make a record without all the extras. And then that was my next thing. I didn't want it to have big build-ups in terms of snare rolls and stuff like that. And I thought, can I create the tension, for example, in the breakdowns with just what was there? And yeah, there's no crashes.
I know. And this is another question I had on my list, but it fits quite nicely into this part of the conversation. Your arrangements, your sonics are always in place, obviously, but from the days of Hustler Convention through to Full Intention, through to your own solo work, your arrangements are always on point. Everything does exactly what it should do, when it should do it, how it should do it. The hooks are all in place. Do you think this 40 years of DJ experience working there, or something else?
Oh, thank you, Paul. I probably, yeah, because I've always been, especially in the early days, and even now, actually, even though I DJ, I still like to watch another DJ play before or after me, and I like to watch the crowd and see how they react to certain records and certain things, and why do they react to that, and why this happens. The classic used to be, and I was telling my son this only yesterday because he's producing now, and I listen to his stuff, and I'll say about for example, the breakdown, and one of them was that I used to go to Ministry of Sound. I'd watch people like Eric Murillo DJ and stuff like that, and I'd literally be on the dance floor in the box in the main room, and I'd listen to the breakdowns and I'd watch people. I was probably the only sober one there because I was driving anyway, but I would just watch, and I learned so much from that, so much from the simplicity of a breakdown can work if you just time it right and you put little tricks in. Probably the most momentous one for me is when I was starting to arrange and put together Duke So In Love With You, and I remember hearing this rising effect on a record in Ministry of Sound, standing there thinking, God, it's lifted. This is lifting me, and I'm totally sober. I'm not on anything, and then I put that into Duke. So if you listen to Duke, you'll hear a tone that starts like 2 octaves below where it's going to be to where it's going to end. And it's just naturally, it rises, and even to this day, I watch the crowd lift as that tone goes up. Simple, really simple things.
Indeed. Let's talk about Sultra, your own label. Is this very much your baby? Do you have anybody else connected with it, or is this purely Michael?
Yeah, it's just me. Just me. And, I've got a great company called Ultramoda who look after, the management side of it. And when I say management, all the distribution and things like that, and the artwork, and which helps because there's no way I could do the whole lot myself. With regard to the gigs, I a good friend of mine, Ian Perry, will DJ because he knows the sound that I like. He knows also how to start the room off. Even our Sultra gigs now, we start at 112 beats per minute. there's no reason to go crashing in when everybody's walking in at 1:25. There's no point, to me anyway. I like that way of just building up the night, you know, and so he's very good at that. So that's what we try and do, a Sultra thing, and release new records, really important, because I don't think there's enough new records out there, not new songs anyway. A lot of people, you know, it's great having loads of heritage nights, and it's great having, you know, remixing old tunes, which I admit to, I do myself. But I think with Sultra, I just want to keep trying to push. Glitterbox do it, and Midnight Riot. Unfortunately, obviously, with Andy not around anymore, that's very sad. We've lost that sort of output. But yeah, I get a real buzz out of still making new tunes and trying to keep a Sultra sound, and try and bring in more. I'm not signing anybody as such unless I've remixed the record. It's just I don't have time to A&R records.
Yeah, I mean, you very much did kick off the early genesis of the label with some kind of, I won't call them cover versions, they were kind of reinterpretations or homages to things like Push in the Bush, to Take Me to the Top, Keep Moving On. They were, you know, part of the original story. But then for me, and I think next to The Weeknd, there's two immediately you must play them. Michael Gray tracks, obviously The Weeknd. But for me, the Sylvester one is iconic.
Oh, thank you, yeah.
Absolutely classic. I mean, I've seen you drop it. I've seen the reaction. Was it difficult to license that? Because obviously you did it legally and, you know, yeah. Was it a complex thing?
It wasn't too bad, actually. I think I can't remember how long it took. I'm just guessing probably about 3 months. We licensed it for, I think it was 3 years, something like that. I just was given the multi-track and remixed it, and then thought, where can we go for there? Then we thought, we could license it and actually put it on Sultra. So it was a real bonus. I hadn't planned it. But you know, I play the record out, and if I see I get a reaction, then I think, right, we need to find a home for this. And Sultra happens to be the thing. So yeah.
And keeping on the Sultra tip, obviously, Optimism.
Yeah.
What a thing to actually commit the resources, financially, time, dedication, commitment, the exclusion of other paid gigs or commitments, etc., to commit yourself to an album. What was the decision? You know, what's the thing that thought, okay, at this point in life, I am going to make an album? You personally financed the whole thing. That's a big decision to make, Mike.
Yeah, I remember not sleeping one night because I realised how expensive the invoice was for the string players and the arranging. I was like, okay, right.
Did I do the right thing?
I remember sort of hardly sleeping all night, thinking what to. But you know, the string arrangers. You know, he's a brilliant, lovely guy, Stephen Hussey, and he said, you know, we can do a deal where you just pay. Cut me in on the writing and stuff like that. I thought, no, I can do this. And I was panicking all night, not panicking, but concerned about how much money was going out. And then the following day, I got royalties from PPL come in. I thought, thank God for that. And I didn't expect that.
Praise the Lord.
Oh, thank God that's paid for that one. But I was determined to do an original album and have as much live musicianship on there, as well as obviously putting all my club drums, and you know, so it's a hybrid between live and whatever. And you know, even I had Derek McKenzie on drums over the top of my drums, so I just did basic house drums, then he played over the top, then I went back and put those all exactly in time with mine, then added some more stuff, live percussion, Russ Tarley, etc. But I have to admit, it's the most rewarding experience doing that album, and I wanted to do it, and I thought, it doesn't, if I don't make any money, it doesn't matter. It's what's in here. That's
you have to get it out. Yeah.
And so it was great to do. I am halfway through the next album. It won't get released till next year. I don't think I could take the stress of all the contracts and everything, because there's a lot of different artists to keep,
A lot of
make sure
moving
they're
parts.
happy.
Yeah, indeed.
But I would like to take it live one of these days, maybe at the Jazz Cafe or something, to do the whole thing live.
Brilliant. That's great. And how do you find the when you're actually writing, composing songs with other people? Is that a process you enjoy? Do you do it transatlantic? Do people come to your studio? Do you just get on a Zoom call? How does that work?
Yeah, well, that's the best bit. I was just lucky. The singers or writers that I work with were, I don't know, they're just really good. They were good. I didn't want to work with, I didn't really want to work with any house names, if that makes sense. You know, I could do, but I didn't want to. I wanted to work with singers that maybe weren't so well known, perhaps, some of them, not all, but some of them. One person was particularly really, we worked really well. There's in fact, I work well with all of them, but there's one particular one, and Tatiana Owens, and she is based in New York. I would send the backing track over. She'd write something, demo it, send it back. I might say, "Oh, could you adjust this and this and this?" Or sometimes I didn't have to do anything, and then she would send it back, and it just clicked. She got what I was trying to do straight away. And then some occasions where she sent them back, I just completely changed the backing track. On 2 records, I totally changed the backing track. Once I got back what she'd done, I thought, I can better this now. I can actually make it better. So it's like remixing your own record.
Yeah, but you needed that kind of part in the journey to get there. You couldn't have got there without that bit, could you? I mean, do you feel Invincible was the big one that really took the album into the stratosphere from there? Do you think that was the first anthem from the album?
Yeah, Invincible. Yeah, that really. The writer who wrote that with me, I'm not actually allowed to mention her name.
Okay,
she's
well,
on
you
a
don't have to.
pseudonym on there, but she's written. All I can say is she's written some classics for Defected Records, or should I say, Glitterbox Records. Wonderful writer, but she happened to write that track, and obviously Tatiana sung it. That I'm really proud of that track. That is one that I changed all the chords after Tatiana had sung on it, and then I think I made it better. And that is one of those tunes that when I play in a set now, and I'm not sure if people know the album, but I play it. Well, touch wood, it always it goes off. I think it just has a good feeling. Invincible, everybody can relate to those lyrics.
Definitely, absolutely. Made a great T-shirt as well, didn't it?
Yeah, it did actually. Was it
a T-shirt? I can't remember. You have that many in your range. I can't remember which one was which. But and obviously, Mike, you've commissioned as a label owner and the original artist, you've commissioned numerous remixes. How do you go about choosing the right remixer for the particular song amongst your network of connections?
Yeah, I knew that I wanted them to be house remixes, not disco remixes, because they're already disco house tracks. So I said, if you just want to use the chorus, just use the chorus. I just want it for, a large room, and for to the masses, a bit more to the masses, really. There was no particular. Some people actually came to me and said, "I'd like to remix for you." Other people, and now with stem separation, for example, Charlie Price, with stem separation, he didn't ask for the multi-track for one of the tracks. He just separated them, did his mix, and sent it to me. I said, "I like this. I'll tell you what, I will send you the stems, and if you can replace the ones that you've taken out, and obviously to make the quality better." And that was it. That was easy. There's I like what Groove P has been doing. I like the large room, chunky house sort of sound he's got. So I thought, yeah, he would be good for Invincible. But I'd actually let them all choose what they wanted to do. I said,
Really?
choose what you want from the album. Yeah, because I think that helps. I think if you're remixing a track that you really like the song in the first place, you're going to make a better job of it. And there's more to come. But we just haven't had a chance to release them yet.
Right. And you've committed, as you mentioned, to a second album. You're already halfway through.
Yeah. So the remix is to sort of come out this year, and then the new stuff will be next year. Though I say in that some of the tracks from the album will be getting released this year. Yeah, probably about 3 of them. They're pretty much finished already.
Great.
Very excited about that.
Indeed. Yeah. More bills to come, but hopefully the PRS follows it. So that'd be great. Let's move over to the kind of lockdown COVID era and the way Twitch came into your life and live streaming. Obviously, you've built up a fantastic following, a family, so to speak. But I think one of the things that you've locked into and has, obviously bolstered your fan base is this community that you've created, a very loyal community. That is, I would imagine, very important to you.
Yeah, it was a game changer, actually. I hate saying this, but COVID was good for me. It sounds wrong, but it actually enabled me to not DJ, concentrate in the studio. And I thought, I'm not going to go down that road of watching Netflix all day. In the evening, yeah, but during the day, it really kept me focused. And I know it wasn't a great time. Yeah, I was struggling with it towards the end, but that's one of the reasons I started going on Twitch, only because I saw you do it. And I thought, oh, so that's why I tapped you up and said, and that really helped me, because come Saturday night, I was thinking, I just want to play some records. And then we kind of went from doing it on Facebook and Twitch, and then ended up just being Twitch. And I'm quite surprised how many people started following and listening. And then when COVID finished and we were all allowed to go into a nightclub, these same people started coming along as well. I was like, well, I didn't have you beforehand. So it was good for me in that respect. And a lot of people said, you helped me get through COVID, which you probably had this as well, I'm sure. And especially people who are living on their own. And, Twitch and the live streams was very important. Obviously, they had, Glitterbox was doing it and everything. And Shapeshifters, of course, was loads of people. But it was good for me as well. And to this day, a lot of the Twitch crowd still come as well, so I am really grateful.
Yeah, and some travel from Europe and even America to see you, which is a fantastic thing. But I think it's it makes you more approachable as a human being as well. The fact that you do your meet and greets before you gig, of all your Twitch people as well. It's sort of. That's what creates that level of community, is that belonging thing, and sort of, well, it's not just a name who's made a record. I can talk to him.
Yeah.
Which is all part of it. And it was, I remember back in the early days, you were, I don't think you held a competition, but you had like a vote about what it was going to be called, and eventually it became Thankful Thursdays, and it still is. Thankful.
Right.
Oh, thank you. It's Thursday. It's not quite the weekend, but we're, so. And I know your schedule's pretty tight and everything, but you still try and do it at least maybe once or twice a month, which is great.
Yeah, that's basically it. It's working out roughly about 3 times, once every 3 weeks, something like that. So I still get a buzz from doing it. However, I think what people don't realize, you're standing there for 2 hours, and I come off exhausted, because it's like spinning plates. You're not just DJing, you're also checking the cameras working, you're checking everything else, the right record. You're checking what people are saying, because you're trying to make sure you give them a shout, or if they ask a question, or there's so much going on in your head. And you just come off and you're like, I'm
I
exhausted,
know.
but I don't get that in a club.
No, you don't,
I
because
could
you,
be
yeah,
for 3 hours and I wouldn't get that feeling.
absolutely. You're looking at the chart, you're looking at your computer, you're actually trying to be a DJ, you're welcoming people into the room, you're giving shout outs. Is this working? Is that working?
Yeah.
Then you got to raid out to somebody and blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
Don't talk to me about raids. Oh,
Well, we got there.
I'm the
We got you
worst
there in the
raider
end.
ever.
Well, you stumbled a bit in the beginning, but I think you've mastered it now. After 5 years, you've kind of got it, Mike.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think just
dear.
about.
Mike, obviously, the early COVID days were, as I said, terrible for many people, but good in a way. I mean, they were good for people who sort of used the opportunity or were blessed with the opportunities to further their career or reach a new audience. Good and bad in all things. But let's talk about a time which wasn't so fantastic for you, if I may. That period, sort of 2010, 2012, when you nearly gave up. You nearly turned your back
Yeah.
on everything. Was this the music, the scene? Were you just tired? What if, what was, your thought process back then?
Well, we'd moved the whole family anyway into deepest Kent, to a lovely converted barn. I built a brand new studio, 2 levels, had the best of everything, big PMC sound system, a big live room, because I wanted to, start producing bands as well. And I thought do that because I love that.
Mm.
And then the music was starting to change and EDM was coming in. And then I was starting to find that from a gig point of view, that some people were booking me just because they wanted me to play the weekend. And then they're expecting you to play a load of commercial records like it. But you're kind of saying, well, that was a club record that turned into a commercial record. I didn't make it for the radio. I didn't make it for commercial. I just made it because I liked it.
Mm.
And what you play as well and make is club music. So, and I struggled with that. And in the end, in 2012, I said, I don't want to DJ anymore. So I went back and started working with John as Full Intention, and sort of trying to ride this deep house thing, and just completely put my solo career on hold, which was good. But I realized that I'm not a producer who can just work with minor keys all the time and everything, keep it low and deep. It's just not in me.
Mm.
If it's not in your heart, I can't make moody records. I've made 1 or 2, but it's just not in me. I don't want to make cheesy house and piano bangers. I suppose what I'm trying to say is I just like tracks that groove. And when EDM came in, I just watched people just jump up and down to records. And I just thought, this is not what it's about. This is not, I know it's, to me, everybody was just waiting for the drop to come in. They all jumped up and down for about 30 seconds, then carried on looking at their phones. And I thought, this is not fun.
Yeah.
Not that I was playing EDM.
Yeah. So what pulled you out of this kind of quagmire, as it were?
My girlfriend at the time turned around to me and said, you should go back and do exactly what you used to do, and stop going under pseudonyms every 5 seconds, because I've done a lot, as you know. And she said, just do what's in your heart and do. So I just went back as Michael Gray about 2016, I think 2017. I remixed The Weekend, and I really was enjoying what Glitterbox was starting to do. Cool disco tracks, not funky house, but cool disco tracks.
Yeah.
And that slow tempo kind of thing. And I was really into that. And that's what started pulling me back again. But I was that close to I was looking for like a day job. And I thought that would never, ever happen. But I did realize that even though I was thinking I'm not making, that much money like I used to, because the bottom line is now we're a bit older, we've all got mortgages, so it's easy to say, well, it's not about the money, but you've still got a lot of,
pay the bills.
3 boys you've got to pay for and stuff like that. And I realized that a job that I was capable of doing wasn't going to earn me that much money. So I thought, I've got to make this work. I think it was John turned around and said, you need to carry on, you need to get it, this will break through. And then all of a sudden the disco thing exploded, Glitterbox, and so
You went to back. You were true to yourself. You took that advice and you became true to yourself. And when you do that organically, it fixed everything.
changed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fair play.
absolutely.
That's great.
It wasn't a great time. Yeah.
No, I mean, look, you know, because you knew at the time what happened. For me, my time when I gave everything, it was sort of 2003, I think, maybe 3, 4.
Yeah.
Just that's it. I sold everything. I got out. I thought I've done enough, seen enough, and I wanted something different in life. I was despondent with the industry. You know, vinyl was, records were becoming the same sound. That whole kind of Monday morning thing that we all used to call each other. Have you heard this? Have you heard that? It came into sort of like, have you heard anything? No, me neither.
Yeah.
And then the whole vinyl to digital world, the record companies were almost self-destructing, the money had run out and everything. And I thought, nah, just done enough. So, but I went into music tech education and ended up in marketing of all things. Can you believe it? And I didn't actually get back into the world of music production until the sort of during the early COVID period properly. But by coming back in, and it very much is an echo of what you experienced. Yeah. Because you turn your back away from something, but because you organically your DNA is what you are, what I am. By immersing yourself and being true to yourself and everything, but actually going, hey, it's not like trumpets, I'm back. It's sort of like I'm open to the world again, and you eventually. So the opportunities go from there. So we've had a similar kind of vibe there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was just saying the DNA. It's in your DNA, so it does come back. And I know loads and loads of producers and DJs who've at various times have quit for many years, some 10 years, and then in the end they end up coming back. And I'm so glad I did, because I'm enjoying it more now than I did back in the 90s with what I was doing. I enjoyed it then, but now I just think it's more, I don't know, the pressure seems to be off, and I really, really enjoy it. I'm happy with the sound I've got. And
it's like a computer reboot. This is probably, I'd say version 3 of life now, isn't it, for us as regards? We've done version 2.0, 1.0, and 1.5 and 2.5, and it's version 3 now. So
yeah, that's true. And the DJing I enjoy more now as well. It's not all geared around one record anymore.
No, but we
can play a set without having to feel I've got to play the weekend at the end.
Of course, and we shoot back to that community thing. The new Twitch family that you inherited, and then they come with you. The profile of the album, of your other connections and remixes and stuff. So yeah, it's a good time to be Michael Gray, I would say. And speaking of good times, long may they continue. Let's talk about your monthly My Soul show. What was your early connection with My Soul, and how did you get into working with those guys? And talk us through the process of producing the mix, and also you have guest remixes as well. How you choose the guest remixes for Sultra radio show?
Yeah, I really love doing those shows. I think I'll be on my 5th year this July. I think it's my 5th anniversary. Right. So I was a music networking thing, which John Saunderson puts on.
Oh yeah.
And he introduced me to this guy called Brian Power, who was part of My Soul.
Right.
And I said to him, I'd really love to get on the radio. He said, well, why don't you come on my house and do a show? Not My Soul. They had My House on a Wednesday night. So I'll give you a Wednesday night. And I said, all right then. And I did it. And then from that, I went on to moved over to My Soul. And then they then gave me a Saturday night show.
Big time.
And I loved it. And I thought I'll have a guest, because I want to give, and the idea of the guest for the last half hour is to have up and coming DJs or very established DJs. So try and get everybody I can on. I mean, the list is the way, because it's every month. My waiting list is about two years worth.
Wow.
The odd time I might have the same guests back again, but basically you're still there's another new person. Oh, she's really good. I like her records, or I like his records. And,
yeah, I get it.
And so yeah, that's how I kind of run it. But I really enjoy doing it. It's a great way of testing records, and that's something, again, like Twitch, I've had my soul community now come on board, and when I go to gigs, they say, "Oh, I listen to your show," and I always listen back, or I listen to it live, or whatever, and that makes you feel really good because you think, "Oh, someone is listening," because you don't know until you get that feedback, and it's great because you know that the tracks you're playing on your show, you can, when you play them out, you're more likely to get a better reaction because they're already getting used to those records that you're playing them.
Yeah, and you can tease those little dubs and various other things that you do. I mean, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I tend to listen to your shows mostly on the rewind, on the listen again thing.
Yeah.
But it's always interesting as well who you choose for your guest spots, because that does bring a nice kind of light and shade contrast between what you're doing and what the guest does as well. So that's always cool.
Yeah. There's some I'm still trying to get, but they always go, "Yeah, I'll come on the show," and then it never quite happens. But hey ho.
Speaking of guests and everything, I mean, you had this, should we say, a legend in your Twitch studio. You've got a great vibe going with John Morales.
Yeah, John is a lovely guy. I look up to him. I just think what an incredible guy. He's just started in his 70s, 71, I think.
Amazing.
And he's rocking it. And I'm just very impressed with how he's gone through that journey, huge in the 70s and 80s, massive. And I still keep finding records that I didn't realize he produced or remixed. Got another one. But John, I said to him jokingly over dinner, I said, "Oh, you must come on my Twitch show sometime." And he said, "Yeah, okay." Then about, I don't know, 6 months later, he said, "I'd like to come on your Twitch show." And I said, "Right, let's get this sorted." So when he was next over, he came over and hung out here. And then he then played our last Sultra party, which was really good. And funny enough, I persuaded him to come and do a mix for my soul. So I think I'm going to have him on my 5th anniversary.
I'll stick him in the back of the 2-year queue. He won't mind. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
He's only John Morales. Brilliant. Okay, Mike. Let's talk about Mastermix. Obviously, everybody at Mastermix HQ very excited about you having your first album release of remixes and dubs. So we don't obviously want to give the full game away as regards to track listing at this particular point, but I think we can actually safely talk about that PYT remix. This one is very special to you. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so there's 2 Michael Jackson tracks I've remixed, as you know, but PYT will be going on this one. It was quite a tricky one. Not tricky one to do. There's a lot going on, and I wanted to try and get this. I always felt that it's a brilliant song, but it was quite fast, the original, and it was made me leaning more towards pop than club. So I just wanted to try and make it a little bit more clubby, especially the verses. So I got there in the end, and I just teased it a few times, played on my Twitch show and on My Soul, and no chance for Sony to release something like that. It's impossible. So, and then I'm just so excited that we're finally be able to release it on Mastermix. I've had so many people ask for it, and I can't give it to you.
Not yet.
Because but soon. But I couldn't say anything. So very excited by that, and I get a real buzz when I play it out, and it's a record that when I have a very younger audience in front of me, they relate to that, which is good.
Great. And did you have the multi-track parts, or did you have the stem separate? Oh, you had the multi-track parts.
I had the full multi-track, yeah. The same with Thriller. It's great listening to all the little, as we all know, listen to an original multi-track. If you find something that wasn't on there, the only thing that I could find on that multi-track that wasn't on not on the release, I think it's the engineer counting down.
Yeah, heard that bit.
I think it's PYT take 1, I think he says. I thought I'll have that.
Yeah, we'll have that. Oh, that's excellent. Yeah, and of course there are some other really super cool remixes and some very interesting dubs on there as well.
Thank you. I'm excited to be on. Yeah, very, very excited. You know, I'm joining the stable of Dr. Packers and Pete the Freaks and yourself and
Mr. Liebrand as well. Yeah, actually,
another old friend, good old friend.
Something, yes, a good dear old friend of ours, and something you said earlier on, which I was going to sidestep to illustrate that Ben has that same vibe as well. I think. Well, I'm quite sure because I interviewed him. This thing about if a track can have just a few elements, but they all deserve to be there. There's nothing that's extraneous or unnecessary. This is something you mentioned about having just the right amount of hooks and parts, and you don't need to go overboard. So yeah, a little flip back to Ben, coordinating with what you said on that. So
yeah, no, he's right.
Right. So we are in currently April 2025, whenever anybody's watching this. Summer ahead, I would imagine a plethora of gigs for you, Mike. You've got the second album number 2 going down. Any other hints and teases that you can give us about what's in the future for Michael Gray?
There's quite a few. There's a lot of gigs I'm really looking forward to. Playing Ibiza quite a bit this year, which is nice as well.
Oh, excellent.
Try and merge a few holidays within that.
If you must, like, Michael, struggle a bit there,
It's my girlfriend. She merges them all in.
Yeah,
she's got a good way of doing that. Why don't we just go a day earlier and 2 days later as well?
She's a very strategic planner of your diary, that girl.
Yeah. I don't earn any money at the end of it, but we get holidays. I'm not joking.
Excellent.
Yeah, there is something that I can't say because I don't know if it's going to definitely come off. If it does, I will definitely let you know.
Okay.
But with regard to, I've got loads and loads of tracks that I've been working, like say for the album. They are going to get released. They'll come on Sultra. I've just literally finished remixing Dave Lee's new single. Okay. So very excited about that. Especially you're remixing for the master, so you have to get it right. So
make sure you do.
Yeah. So he likes it. I've just got to make a few adjustments. Yeah. So he likes it. So that's all good. So I'm not sure when that's going to come out, but it's one of the tracks from his recent album.
Yeah, no pressure, Mike.
So I'm really, no pressure. So that's all good. And I say, putting out all these remixes that I haven't been able to release for quite a while. Well, I haven't been able to release at all. And it's nice to know that they're going to go on Mastermix and get to the right people. And these are tracks that I just really, a lot of them I remix to play out, because I, as a DJ, as you know, and everybody will know, it's nice to have a few of those specials that maybe someone else hasn't got, or even if it's just a short 4-minute special DJ edit or mix, we all do it, and they've just turned into full-blown mixes in the end. They're just ones I've just tried out to just have something different. I do like going to a gig and being able to play something that I haven't played before, just for the buzz of it.
The secret weapon, isn't it? Yeah,
secret weapons, that's it. Yeah.
Oh, that's
BYT's one of them. I can't tell you all, can I, because we're not allowed to say, but
well, we don't want to give a game away. So for those who don't already, Michael, could you just let everybody know how to find you on social channels?
So on Instagram and Facebook, it's DJ Michael Gray Official.
Right.
I'm never crazy about DJ Michael Gray, but I have to have DJ because the Michael Gray had already gone.
I know. Believe me, Dakeyne's gone on a few other things. Like, damn it, who's got that? And you can never find out. So, okay. So I'm pretty sure that the album is going to be released very soon, but it depends on what time everybody's watching this, so we won't labour on that point too strongly. But for the moment, it's been a fantastic chat with you, Mike. Thanks very much for taking the time out of your schedule and Mel's holiday plans as well. It's always a good thing.
And, Thank you, Paul. It's a pleasure to chat to you.
Yeah, it's been a vibe. Thank you very much. And, we look forward to the release and wish you a great summer ahead. Michael Gray, thank you so much.
Thank you, Paul. Cheers, mate.